Some machines don't need to scream. They just hold a beat. One deep boom, a flywheel rolling slowly but rock solid. That is the sound of an era when electricity was still scarce, and people had to squeeze every last bit of torque out of cast iron and steel to survive. Today on Steam Engine, we go back to a line that carries that stubborn character in full. Ruston and Hornsby. From the 3HX that drove a bandsaw every day, to the massive 9X HRC, turning a few hundred revolutions per minute while crushing stone for decades. 2 generations, 1 philosophy. Heavy for stability, slow to live long. In 1927, the Ruston and Hornsby 3HX was a serious investment at 24,000 francs. It wasn't born to be admired. Its job was to carry a bandsaw mill day after day, turning raw timber into beams that fed an entire production line. The beauty of old engines is how they take a punch. When the saw bites deeper, resistance climbs, and the machine does not lose its breath. The flywheel's huge inertia fills the load instantly, keeping the belt drive from snapping and jerking. Watching that stubborn flywheel roll through a tight spot, people feel safe. Then the mill changes hands, and the engine slips into darkness.
The off bearers over here, and they will take the cut wood, and if it's...
People often ask, if it's slow, where is the strength? Early industry chose torque over speed. The 3HX is pure 1920s thinking. No rush, only steady and stubborn. The flywheel works like a mechanical battery. The piston fires and the flywheel stores the force. When the piston crosses dead center, the flywheel releases that force, so the crankshaft never hesitates. Because this charge and release loop repeats, the engine runs remarkably smoothly, even with crude construction and a constantly changing load. With a bandsaw, the quality of the cut depends completely on the smoothness of the hithem. For more than 50 years, the 3HX lay still among sludge, old oil, and rust. On revival day, everything happens with care. Cold cast iron receives the first firing beats, the flywheel gathers momentum, and the machine finds its rhythm again, as if rising from ash. That moment doesn't need commentary. One deep boom, a vibration punching through the frame, and the beat locks in place. What just woke up is not only an engine, it is the echo of an era. If you're addicted to this kind of sound, leave a comment and tell Steam Engine which vintage engine line you want us to dissect next. In 1950, the Ruston and Hornsby Monument arrived, the 9XHRC with serial number 308514. The numbers crushed out. A 12.5-inch bore, a 22-inch stroke, producing 132 horsepower at only 235 revolutions per minute. That horsepower is not for racing, it is for taking punishment. The Cheek brothers used it as the heart of the St. George's Down crushing plant. A quarry doesn't need an engine that sounds pretty. It needs brutal torque to drag conveyors and keep the stone moving. The 9XHRC works with calm authority. A heavy flywheel, slow revolutions per minute, but decisive. It was born to stay planted in a quarry year after year without quitting. A 12.5-inch bore and a 22-inch stroke. Think of the piston as a long steel lever. The longer the lever, the more violent the push. A long stroke wrings torque out of the lowest speeds, while a big bore holds a huge combustion space, so each firing beat can hit harder. Making 132 horsepower at 235 revolutions per minute means the engine doesn't have to scream to swallow a heavy load. In a quarry, slow is a privilege. Bearings run cooler, drivetrains avoid shock loads, and frames crack less. Post-war industry craved engines that were stubborn and easy to fix on site. The 9XHRC fits that perfectly. Just keep turning and keep living. From 1951 to 1990, the 9XHRC crushed stone for Vectis stone without rest, nearly 40 years, long enough for technology to reinvent itself more than once. Yet this heavy cast iron block kept its beat with near immortal torque. Why did it last? Because the design is violently overbuilt. A big camshaft, thick bearing shells, nothing forced to run at its limit. And slow speed confesses problems clearly. A strange knock or an off-standard vibration is easy to expose. Old hands only need to hear the exhaust beat to diagnose the illness. Pure practical mechanics. No performance, just load delivered and pulled. Some mechanical sounds haunt you for a long time. The flywheel gathering momentum in a 1927 sawmill. The crankshaft beat dragging a whole quarry through the 1950s. The 3HX proves that labor is the true identity of mechanics. The 9XHRC turns endurance into heritage. If you're pulled in by stories that smell of oil and steel like this, stay with Steam Engine. Scroll down and tell us what you want next. A deep dive on flywheels, a deep dive into mechanical governors, or a deep dive on hot bulb ignition and how it catches fire. See you at the next startup.